The Chief Who Was No Fool. Take number 437. There once lived an old man in a small village in Africa. One day, he went to the chief. "Help me," he said. "My goats have been stolen by my neighbor." The chief then asked the neighbor, "Is this true? Have you stolen this man's goats?" "I am rich, and I have very many goats, none of which belong to this man." The chief knew that it would be a very difficult problem to solve. He needed to rely on his wisdom. He then came up with a riddle for the two men. "Answer my riddle. Whoever answers it correctly gets to keep the goats," he said. He then asked the two men, "What is the fastest thing in the world?" Now, the chief didn't know the answer. He went home sad. He then asked his daughter Zaya to help him, for his daughter was wise as she was beautiful. "What is the fastest thing in the world?" he asked her. She thought for a little bit. Then she answered, "Why, the fastest thing in the world is time." So the next day, ecstatically, the old man went back to the chief. The chief was very surprised that the old man was able to figure out this riddle so quickly. So the old man answered him with a little look on his face. "The answer to your riddle, chief, is that time is the fastest thing in the world. You never have enough, and it always goes by too quickly." The chief was impressed, but a little bit skeptical. "How did you know?" The old man answered, "It was my thoughts. No one helped me." The chief knew he was lying. "If you do not tell me the truth, I will punish you." The chief, out of fear, quickly said, "It was my daughter Zaya. She's very wise." The chief then told the old man, "You must bring her to me. I must meet her." A few days go by, and the chief finally gets to meet Zaya. The old man brings her to his castle, palace, house. Upon meeting her, the chief is very pleased. "You are very beautiful, and you are very wise. Will you marry me?" "The honor's all mine," said Zaya. Upon their wedding, the chief explains to Zaya that she may have everything in his house and everything that he owns. The one thing that she cannot do, though, is interfere with his people who come to see him for answers. "If you do," he said to her, "if you do interfere with my people, I will send you away for good." A few months go by, and they live happily. But one day comes when two boys arguing over something go to the chief for answers. The chief decides to give them a riddle. He asked the boys, he gave the boys each an egg and told them to hatch it by tomorrow. How were they to do this? Only Zaya knew, and the chief obviously. But Zaya knew which boy was right, and she couldn't stand seeing him in such turmoil. So she went over to the boy and gave him the answer. The next day, the boy goes over to the chief and says, "Plant some rice to feed the chickens. That will hatch the egg." Now, the chief was very confused. "You are not wise. You are only a young boy. You could not have known this answer." "Oh, it was all my thoughts. I knew the answer," said the boy. The chief said to the boy, "If you are lying, I will punish you." Now the boy was very scared, so he quickly said, "Zaya told me. It was she who told me." The old man was furious and very upset. He went to Zaya and asked her, "Did you tell the boy the answer?" She could not lie to the chief. "Yes, I did." The chief sadly said to her then, you must pack up, take anything that you want, and go home. Before she packed up, though, she asked, "May I cook you one last meal?" The chief agreed. So that night, Zaya prepared a feast fit for a king. She cooked his favorite foods, his favorite meats, and his favorite drinks. That night, she made sure to get the chief very, very drunk until he passed out. She then moved him all the way to her house, to her village. That next morning, the chief woke up very astonished. "Where am I? Where am I?" he said. Out walked Zaya from her room. She then went on to explain to the chief. "My chief, you told me last night that I could take whatever I wanted, and I wanted you." The chief looked at her, then thought for a little bit. And he said to her, "You, my wife, are a very wise woman. Come back and stay with me. Only a fool would send away such a woman." She answered to him with a smug look on her face, "And you, my chief, are no fool." The end.